through the valleys and peaks of Mount Hyjo, across the shifting sands of Sidaltus, against the Legion's dread armies, we have fought. We are the nameless, faceless sons and daughters of the Alliance. By the light and by the might of the Alliance, the first strike belongs to us, and the last strike is all that our enemies see. We are the 7th Legion. High Commander Halford Wyrmbane. The 7th Legion is an elite special operations regiment composed of the Alliance's most seasoned veteran fighters. Initially serving behind the scenes, the Legion became the face of the Alliance military during the Fourth War, leading Alliance incursions into Zandalar. Before this campaign, as well as after, they have participated in almost every major offensive and engagement the Alliance has been involved in. They fulfill a similar role to the Horde's Kor'kron Guard. The two have frequently even crossed blades during the various conflicts between the Alliance and the Horde, including in Northrend and Pandaria. Their troops are equipped with the best technology the Alliance can provide, and they are often using gunships, submarines, guns, cannons, ground support weapons such as chain guns and harpoon guns, and more recently they employed warframes, bombers, and siege tanks on the battlefield. During the Third War, the 7th Legion has been known to have participated in the Battle of Mount Hyjo, and of course later in battles against both the Horde and the Burning Legion. During the Ankiraj War, the 7th Legion was part of the Might of Kalandor in Citalus. High Lord Leoric von Zedling, Leonor Windstrike, and Duke August Fohammer were all commanders of the combined Alliance Horde army, raised in opposition to the growing threat from Ankiraj, and could be found with Supreme Commander Varrock Sarufang and the other leaders at Cenarian Hold. During the war against the Lich King, the 7th Legion joined forces with High Lord Bolvar Fourdragon's forces in Northrend and have been running special operations against the Scourge in order to secure a foothold in Dragonflight. They were stationed at Wintergrad Keep under the command of High Commander Halford Wyrmbane, from where they fought against the undead legions of Naxxramas. High Elven members of the Silver Covenant also joined the 7th Legion as battle mages, with Vas the Unstable as their representative, and were stationed in the arcane sanctum of Winterguard Keep. At some point, High Commander Halford discovered spies of the Cult of the Damned among his troops and had them hanged at the entrance of Winterguard Keep to serve as ghoul baits. After the Alliance adventurers rescued the remaining citizens from the Carrion Fields, Halford sent them to meet Cavalier Durkon, one of his soldiers he had sent to investigate Winterguard Crypt, from where the undead kept coming to attack the keep. After Necrolord Amarion was eliminated and his tome returned to Halford, the latter redirected the adventurer to help Inquisitor Hallard interrogate Mayor Godfrey Goodart, now a ghoul in the service of the Scourge, so that he could reveal his master's plans and the content in the book. Once they learned about the Wintergrad Mausoleum, the High Commander dispatched Duke August Fohammer and Ambo Cash at the 7th Legion front in preparation for the next assault against the undead. After the Legion Commander Tiralion and the heroes came into possession of Talazan the Dustbringer's phylactery, the Lich leading the Scourge forces in the area, Halford sent his men to support the adventurer and Lord Bolivar to defeat Telzan. Off the coast of Northrend, High Commander Halford led the 7th Legion on the Isle of Conquest, where they fought Kor'kron warriors under the command of Overlord Agmar. During the final battle against the Lich King, while the forces of the Ashen Verdict fought through Icecrown Citadel, the 7th Legion and the Kor'kron engaged in an aerial battle outside using the Skybreaker and Ogrim's Hammer respectively. Following the Cataclysm, High Commander Halford led the 7th Legion forces into the ruins of Gilneas, supporting the Gilneas Liberation Front against the Forsaken in order to regain the kingdom for the Alliance. On their arrival, they discovered a large Horde fleet, and to clear the way for the bulk of their troops, the 7th Legion used gnomish submarines to covertly blow up the Horde's ships. A vanguard force under the lead of Master Sergeant Pietro Zaran later infiltrated Gilneas City using submarines, liberated it from Forsaken control, and made the Cathedral Quarter courtyard their base of operations. Meanwhile, High Commander Halford worked with Lord Darius Crawley's Worgen in order to advance into enemy territory, destroying all their outposts and lines of communications in the process. The 7th Legion's plan was to allow troops to attack the Forsaken Forward Command once King Varian Rin's armada of warships arrived on the shores of Gilneas. Once ready, the combined forces of the Gilneas Liberation Front, the Bloodfang Pack, and the 7th Legion crushed the last true foothold the Forsaken had in Gilneas, and Halford was sent on the decks of the X-2 Pincer submarine with his men when the rest of the Alliance fleet arrived. When the Alliance continued its advance toward Silverpine Forest, a large number of 7th Legion's troops decimated almost all of the Forsaken forces occupying Pyrewood Village. The forces employed were exclusively non-human, a clever tactic to prevent the Valkyr from bringing them back as undead. Soon after, Horde adventurers crushed the Legion forces in the area, and the village was burned to the ground by Lord Vincent Godfrey. The Horde agents' next move was to attack the 7 Legion's base camp under the command of General Marstone, which was also garrisoned by non-human 7 Legion members. They eventually assassinated General Marstone and recovered the 7th Legion battle plan to learn about the Gilneas Liberation Front base camp. Afterwards, Sylvanas Windrunner took Lorna Crowley hostage, threatening her with undeath, forcing her father, Darius, to put an end to the Alliance offensive in the region. The 7th Legion was sent by King Varian Rin to defend Theramore Isle against the Horde. Under the command of Horan Redmane, who succeeded General Marstone after his death, its flagship was the Spirit of Tiffin, and it bore General Marcus Jonathan, Chandris Fettermoon and her sentinels, and General Tiras Alan. When Theramore's north gate fell, Horan and the 7th Legion joined the Alliance forces to repel Warchief Garrosh Hellscream's assault. The majority of the fleet and its forces were ultimately decimated during the destruction of Theramore Isle. In the aftermath, King Varian ordered the fleet rebuilt with new ships blessed by the light. During the Alliance-Horde War, the 7th Fleet anchored off the coast of the Karsang Wilds as part of the Alliance vanguard arriving in Pandaria. One of their missions was to find the missing Prince Anduin Rin. They served as the main force in battles between the Alliance and the Horde forces in that region. As part of Operation Shilwa, troops and ships from the 7th Legion alongside the garrison of Lion's Landing participated in attacks against the Horde stronghold of Domination Point. Several of their units were later seen participating in the assault on Zanves. At the beginning of the 3rd invasion of the Burning Legion, several units of the 7th Legion were seen preparing for the battle for the Broken Shore in Stormwind Harbor. The 7th Legion were also deployed along with the Skyfire and King Gen Greyman's forces to escort Alliance champions to Stormheim and, unofficially, to intercept Sylvanas Windrunner's fleet. After engaging the fleet, the Skyfire was sabotaged by Forsaken boarders and crashed on Stormheim. The 7th Legion stayed at the front of the ship to fight off the Stormdrakes while the crew evacuated. An Alliance adventurer later rescued the missing Legionnaires from Stormdrakes and brought them back to the Skyfire Triage camp. Several units of the 7th Legion were later seen aboard Wind's Redemption when it sailed from Stormwind City to Azurmist Isle. The 7th Legion represents the best that Azeroth has to offer. For the Alliance, High Commander Halford Wyrmbane. At the beginning of the Fourth War, members of the 7th Legion guarded the Stormwind Stockades, which contained Princess Talanji and Prophet Zul of the Zandalari Empire, as well as Varrock Sourfang of the Horde, captured during the siege of Lordran. The stockades were later infiltrated by Talisra, Rokan, and the Horde adventurer in order to free the Zandalari trolls. The guards, along with Mage Commander Lyra, were all killed during the invasion. The 7th Fleet was later sent a fleet to apprehend Talanji, but only a single ship escaped the attack on the Golden Fleet, while the shipwrecked survivors constructed a base near their landing site in Zuldazar. On King Anduin Rin's orders, the 7th Legion traveled to Kultiras with King Gen Greymane to ensure that Jaina Proudmoore's mission of getting the Kultirans to rejoin the Alliance succeeded. When King Gen and the 7th Legion arrived in Boralus shortly after, they were confronted by the Bolarus guards on the orders of Priscilla Ashvane. However, Sirius Crestfall reminded the guards that they serve Kultiras and House Proudmoore, not House Ashvane, and that they answered to him. The 7th Legion forces could later be found aboard the Wind's Redemption docked at Boralus, where under High Commander Halford Wyrmbane's command, they worked to secure the Alliance position on Kultiras and Zandalar. During the 7th Legion's invasion of Zandalar, a regiment of Void Elves led by Magister Umbric, seeing the opportunity to prove their capabilities and their loyalty to the Alliance, attacked the Bilgewater cartel's mining operations in an attempt to find and capture Jaster Gallywix, cooperating with the Dark Iron Dwarves at Xibala. They used their newfound powers to ambush the cartel's goblins as well as throwing the cartel's frackers into the Endless Void. Although their mission ended in failure, the Void Elves managed to uncover Gallywix's decoy and send the Thread Prince on the run, impressing Halford Wyrmbane. And later on, the 7th Legion was stationed near Shadowfang Keep, where Chief Playbringer Harris developed a new bioweapon that was intended to be unleashed against Gilneas. It was eventually used against them, while Horde champions encountered Captain Tobias Zarin. Elements of the Legion were also found on the Sword of Dawn and participated in the battle for Stormguard. During the Horde's assault on Drusvar, members of the 7th Legion were present among the Purified, an alliance contingent of soldiers empowered by the light to protect the people of Drusvar. During the Alliance assault on Vordoon, the 7th Legion began incinerating the caravans in hope of stopping these shipments and dissuading the Vulpera from doing any more jobs for the Horde. Incensed by these attacks, Nisha asked Horde adventurers to defend her people and fight back against the Alliance invaders. The 7th Legion were amongst the Alliance forces fighting the Horde and their allies of the Zandalari Empire during the Battle of Dazalor. After the defeat of King Rastakhan, they joined the Kultiran fleet in their pursuit of Nathanos Blightcaller and the remaining Horde ships. After Queen Azshara used the Tidestone of Golganeth to open the seas, making both fleets wreck into the reef of Nazjatar, the 7th Legion forces fought their way against the Naga at Tide's Fall. They eventually received the help of Waveblade Ancon and moved to Mezamir, which became the center of the Alliance efforts against the Nazjatar Empire. During the assault on the Eternal Palace, the 7th Legion followed the lead of Jaina Proudmoore and Chandris Feathermoon, keeping control of the palace's entrance. At the culmination of the Fourth War, the 7th Legion were amongst the Alliance forces present for the battle at the gates of Ogrimmar. Their gnome engineers brought the most advanced machinery in their arsenal, such as the 7th Legion siege tanks, while others could be seen organizing troops for the upcoming battle, transporting equipment, scouting the terrain, and preparing bandages. On Varrock Saursfang's orders, their battle mages teleported to cover the rebellion's flank and were tasked with shielding the army against magical assault. Following the war against the jailer, the brothers Bronzebeard visited Winterguard Keep and Dragonblight. Since the Lich King's defeat, the bulk of the 7th Legion forces there moved on to where they were most needed, but a small detachment remained to keep an eye on Dragonblight. They gave them a warm welcome at the keep. And now, moving on to a long time after that, shortly after the Night Elves moved to Amidrasil on the Dragon Isles, High Lord Leoric von Zelding led some forces of the 7th Legion to help the Gilnean army during the reclamation of Gilneas. Their forces were assembled at Kill Harbor and later could be seen fighting the Scarlet Crusade troops across Gilneas City. But before we end this, let's look a little at Halford Wyrmbane. You see, the High Commander is a mighty paladin at the head of the 7th Legion, but once upon a time he was a knight in the ranks of the Alliance of Lordaeron who fought during the Second War. Then he became a paladin of the Order of the Silver Hand, before finally taking the leadership of the 7th Legion. At the time of the Second War, Halford Wyrmbane served as a knight during the founding of the Order of the Silver Hand. Believing priestly orders couldn't mix with martial skills, he continued to focus only on combat training. After observing the first paladins, however, Wyrmbane became inspired by the faith and dedication of Turalyon. When the Alliance expedition was presumed lost following the invasion of Draenor, Wyrmbane realized that warriors could also be devout followers of the light. And so Wyrmbane vowed to honor Turalyon's sacrifice by being both a soldier and a paladin, and later on he joined the ranks of the Knights of the Silver Hand. After this, we take a break from his story and we don't really know much, but at some point after the Second War, he becomes the leader of the 7th Legion, and he manages to lead his troops in crucial wars throughout those recent times, and going back to the Battle of Mount Hyjal, where he defended Jaina Proudmoore's base during the fight. His story is the story of the 7th Legion, but there are a few things that I didn't talk about. First, during the war against the Lich King, having learned of the existence of a book called The Path of Redemption, a journal that holds the prophetic ramblings of High General Abendis of the Scarlet Onslaught, but also the motifs and goals of the Scarlet Zealots, he accordingly requested a copy of that book from the Scarlet Onslaught base camp. Once in possession of it, he wondered about the sanity of Abendis, who said she heard the light speak to her, but that despite her ramblings, the book gave them a glimpse into the mind of the Scarlet Zealots. Moving much later during the Fourth War, during the visions of Stormwind, the version of Stormwind, or the timeline where N'Zoth takes over Stormwind, the High Lord was captured by Inquisitor Darkspeak, who attempted to break his mind and make him submit to the Void, but Halford refuses to abandon the light. Despite the adventurer slaying Halford's capture, his wounds proved too much and he died soon after, urging the adventurer to save the civilians of Stormwind with his last breath. And so we can see that even in alternate timelines where things are looking bad and everything's against the world, the High Lord still remains loyal and true to the light. If you reach this point, please remember to like, comment, and subscribe because it helps the channel grow.